I'm calling this meeting to order. This is a regular business meeting of the Redmond City Council held on Tuesday, May 19th, 2026, commencing at 7 o'clock p.m. I will call roll, starting with Council President Stewart.
Here.
Council Vice President Nueva Camina.
Here.
Councilmember Forsyth.
Here.
Councilmember Parkria.
Here.
Councilmember Parsi.
Here.
Councilmember Sony.
Here.
And Councilmember Kritzer.
Here.
Thank you. There are no special orders of the day. The first item on our agenda is items from the audience. I have the sign-in sheet for members of the public to speak tonight. When I read your name, you will come up to the podium and have 3 minutes to address the council. Council members generally will not respond to comments or questions directly at the meeting. Members of the public are welcome to email the council anytime at mayorcouncil@redmond.gov. The views stated by members of the public do not represent the opinion of the City of Redmond. As a reminder, RCW 29B45010 prohibits any public comment during the council meeting in support or opposition of ballot propositions, measures, or candidates. All comments must pertain to the City of Redmond business as indicated on the sign-in sheet. And there are 24 people signed up to speak tonight and 2 people signed up to speak remotely. So normally what I do is I start with the first 4 names and I'll keep rotating through so you'll kind of know when you're coming up. So, and I apologize if I mispronounce your name. I do my best to read these. I will start with Paul Edward Morris, then Guillermo Rivera, then Craig Peck, then Lam Ho.
Well, as I live and breathe, how the heck are you? I'm Paul Morris. I'm a resident of Kirkland, and I'm here to seek answers to why we are not seeing public access defibrillators installed in your city parks. This is my 3rd go-around to request that the City of Redmond install public access defibrillators in all of your city parks. The reason why is because lives are precious to me. And I truly hope that those lives are equally as precious to you as council members and our honorable mayor as well. Our fire chief is here. I see him over here. Hi. I'm sure that you would appreciate having proper CPR administered with sudden cardiac arrest, right? Yes. And so you'd like to have a patient that's actually viable. And the only way you can do that is to get in the 4 minutes that the new guidelines of the AHA have delineated, and that's 4 minutes. And I doubt very seriously that if your department is dispatched out,
Point
it
of
will
order?
not get there in 4
Yes.
minutes.
Excuse me, sir.
So, anyway,
Thank you
just
so
a
much.
moment.
Point of order. The speaker does need to direct comments to the council tonight.
okay, I'm sorry. So, yeah, what I just said to you, okay? So please, I would also request that when I email you that I can get a timeline of when those defibrillators will be installed. Dave Tuchek, who's in the Parks Department, has assured me that those defibrillators will be installed, but I never got a timeline of when that'll happen. So I'm going to email you each individually in a broadcast email, and hopefully I'll get an answers. I feel like I'm left in the dark. So I've had success in the city of Kirkland. All the city parks have defibrillators because I pushed it and pushed it. So ladies and gentlemen, I really appreciate some cooperation. We want a heart-safe city, heart-safe space here in Redmond. So is it understood? Heart-safe spaces are very important. And I yield the balance of my time back to the council. Thank you.
Next is Guillermo Rivera, then Craig Peck, then Lam Ho, then Yuan Ting.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Guillermo Rivera, and I'm a community organizer with Eastside for All, based here in the city of Redmond. I'm here to ask you for your support for the Redmond Rent Bill of Rights. Eastside for All convened a series of forums in 2020 called Eastside Renters in Crisis, and the city of Redmond participated. During that time, we hear from many people in Redmond and through the all East King County who were struggling to remain in their homes due to the cost, and not just the rent cost, but also all the fees that are applying there. These problems continue until today. As you know, nearly 2/3 of Redmond households are renter, and 44% are immigrants. These are workers, family, students, and older adults that are an important part of our city. They deserve fair rules and safe homes. Right now, many renters have to pay extra fees that are hard to understand, especially if English is not your first language. Some people pay fees to apply, fees to trash, fees to pay rent, and many other costs. Renters should know exactly what they're paying for. Renters also need stability. Many people pay the rent on time and follow all the rules, but they still don't know if they can stay in their homes when their lease ends. Families should have no worry about losing their homes at any time. Renters should also feel safe speaking up. People should be able to ask for repairs or ask about problems without being scared or losing their homes. Another problem is big rent increases. When rents go up too much, renters should not be able to move out without paying any fees. People should not feel trapped. The city should help renters to learn about their rights and where to go to help. This is about fairness and helping people stay in their homes. Please pass the Renters' Bill of Rights by the end of July or before, and I thank you for your time.
Next is Craig Peck, then Lam Ho, then Yuan Ting, then Adam Diba.
Hello. Thank you all for being here. I'm Craig Peck with the Transit Riders Union, and I'm a member of several of the other organizations here tonight. We're here to urge you to pass the Redmond Renters' Bill of Rights by the end of July before the August recess. The other organizations that want this promptly passed include the 45th District Democrats, the 48th District Democrats, East Side Urbanism, the East Side branch of the Seattle Democratic Socialists of America, the Urbanist, East Side for All, Tech for Housing, FutureWise, and the Washington Low Income Housing Alliance. Together, we're asking you, please pass it. If you are here tonight to ask the city to pass the Redmond Renters' Bill of Rights by the end of July, please rise if you can.
Sir, I asked you need to follow the same rules as others. You need to address all your comments to the council. Thank you.
Thank you. Redmond does a lot of things well. The city even generates a massive $1.2 billion budget, far more than comparable cities. But there's a gaping hole in what Redmond does. The nearly 2/3 of Redmond households who are renters have very little stability or fairness. The city has passed no renter protections since 2022 and does not enforce even those. With the Eastlink open, Redmond is now transformed into a major city. It's mostly good, but predictably, housing demand and competition is accelerating, and that means more displacement, precarity, and unfavorable terms for renters. The 2026 leasing season is already here. Most of what we're proposing was proposed in 2021 through 2024, coordinated with now Mayor Katie Wilson. We appreciate the commitments for this legislation from City Council members. Now let's turn those commitments into law. The council can hardly turn this into law without the cooperation of the mayor and her administration. The council members are volunteers with a stipend. They have no staff. In Redmond, the mayor directs all city staff, including those essential to making city policy and law. We support the goal of the council's tenant protection subcommittee members to get this done by the end of July. Please consider these three questions, especially the executive administration. First, isn't stability and fairness for Redmond renters as much a priority as generating FIFA tourists? Second, why are other cities in Washington able to do so much more than Redmond to provide stability and fairness, even cities with a much smaller budget? And third, the administration has had years to prepare for this. Why is it taking so long? We are here tonight to ask you to make the community's residents a priority and to pass this by the end of July before the August recess. Thank you.
Next is Lam Ho, then Wan Ting, then Adam Diba, then Absa Geuye. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that.
Good evening, Mayor Bernie and council members. My name is Lam Ho, and I've succeeded Mayor Katie Wilson as the general manager of the Transit Riders Union. I've also been an attorney practicing in housing law for over 18 years, and for over a decade, I ran a legal aid organization that served low-income families, over thousands of them every year. And I'm drawing upon those experiences to urge you to pass the Renters' Bill of Rights before the end of July. As both a community organizer and as an attorney, I've worked with hundreds of families whose landlords have exploited them through hidden fees, deceptive advertising, retaliatory evictions, and harassment, often in apartments which had multiple health and safety violations. These are families for whom their home is the line between stability and crisis. Many households actually don't want to move despite these situations because despite deteriorating conditions, they don't want to move their children from their schools. Sometimes they can't actually even afford to move due to moving expenses, trying to break their leases. And in some situations, for immigrant households, their home, is their only source of stability in these terrible times. As you've heard, nearly 2/3 of Redmond residents are renters, and they are facing surging costs, increased tourism and development, and these situations are going to increase and escalate. Redmond renters cannot wait until their homes become too expensive from rising rents, all sorts of junk fees, and rent traps to have their rights protected. Immigrant residents cannot wait for the federal government to improve their situation before they have their rights to protect their one source of stability. The saddest moment in my career as an attorney is visiting my client who was dying in the hospital. Despite the fact that she was legally authorized to be in this country, she wouldn't go to the hospital. She was afraid to leave her home. And by the time that she went to the hospital, it was too late. She couldn't wait. Redmond renters can't wait, and we can't wait. We are very grateful for the support that the council have expressed for renters' rights, but we ask that you take that support and make this opportunity your turn to be a champion for renters. Turn your support into real action and real change for the 2/3 of your constituents, and we need you to do it right now. This is a top priority for the Transit Riders Union,
And in conclusion?
and we are evaluating an initiative, a ballot initiative, if this does not happen quickly enough.
Sir,
This needs to
your time
happen
is up.
now. Thank you.
Thank you. Yuan Ting, then Adam Diba, then Absa Geuye. Absa's not speaking? Okay, thank you. Noda Sow? Nudia? And you're not, Adam, you're not speaking this evening? Okay. Okay. All right, so let me make sure. So Wang Ting, thank you so much.
Okay. Good evening, City Council members. I am a lead attorney from King County Bar Association Housing Justice Project. I'm here to support the passage of Redmond Renters' Bill of Rights. My organization is the Right to Counsel Legal Clinic, providing free legal assistance and representation to low-income tenants facing eviction in King County. We serve hundreds of tenants each month, including the tenants in the city of Redmond. The Renters' Bill of Rights are carefully drafted to protect both the interest of the renters and the city of Redmond. Our state constitution grants every local government the power to make and enforce within its limit all such local police, sanitary, and other regulations as are not in conflict with general laws. Washington courts has constantly held that local governments may enact additional tenants' protections and defenses to eviction without coming into conflict with the state law. Even in Valley City's Counseling and Consultation versus Adinas, a recent case where the Court of Appeal held open just cause ordinances were preempted by the state law. The court carefully narrowed its ruling and concluded that the urban just cause ordinance is only preempted to the extent that it prohibits a landlord from evicting a tenant from a just cause basis that is permitted under the current state law. Here, the four proposals are not preempted by the state law because none of them prohibits the landlord from using any just cause allowed under the state law to evict tenants. Instead, they protect tenants and prevent homelessness by either giving tenants new rights or extending their existing rights. Cities across all Washington have acted to address the shortcomings in state legislation to provide protection to people who rent their home. For example, the city of Seattle passed its right of first refusal ordinance in 2021. The city of Olympia passed the right to move in 2024. Similarly, the city of Seattle and the city of Shoreland prohibits landlords from charging excessive fees. Additionally, the state law has already prohibited retaliation in RCW 59:18-240 and 250, and the proposal merely extends the protection that's already existed under this statute. Therefore, all those proposals are lawful under the state law. I would like to thank you for raising those issues, and we urge the city councils to act without delay. Thank you.
Next is Nawida Sow. Say it again.
Hooja.
Hooja, thank you.
Thank you.
Then Bill King, then Jessen Mata, then Peyton Steeves.
Renters need stability and fairness in Redmond. Good evening, Mayor, council members, and city staff. My name is Hooja Sow, and I am Executive Assistant for AOE, Africans on the East Side. And I'm here today to urge the city of Redmond to act with urgency and pass strong renter protections by the end of July. Across our city, renters are facing rising housing costs, instability, and a consistent fear of displacement. Working families, immigrants, seniors, students, and children are doing everything right, working hard, contributing to this community, and still struggling to stay in their homes. Housing is not just about buildings. It's about stability, dignity, and the ability to build a life when people are forced to move suddenly or face uncertainty. It impacts everything: children's education, job stability, mental health, and community connections. When renters are stable, children do better in school, workers stay connected to jobs and transit, families experience less stress, neighborhoods remain diverse and strong. People can fully participate in community life. These protections are about fairness, and they help ensure renters are treated with dignity and have real chance to stay in the communities they call home. We also want to emphasize the importance of listening to renters directly. The lived experience of people facing these challenges every day should guide decision-making. Their voice bring truth, urgency, and clarity to why this policy matters. Organizations like Africans on the East Side continue to support families navigating housing instabilities, but the need is growing, and too many families remain unheard. We respectfully ask the mayor and city staff to move quickly and work collaboratively to pass the legislation by the end of July. Families in Redmond cannot afford delays. Redmond has the opportunity to lead with fairness, compassion, and courage. Housing stability is community stability. Thank you. Also, AOE is at the Together Center in Redmond. Thank you.
Next is Bill King, then Jessen Mata, then Peyton Steeves, then Owen Knight.
Hi, my name is Bill King. I live in downtown Redmond, where I've been a renter for over 10 years. Over the years, I've had a number of issues with my landlord neglecting or deferring maintenance. When this happens, I need to weigh how hard I push back. What if they get fed up with me, decide they'd rather have another tenant, and decline to renew my lease? Maybe it'd be better to just put up with an erratic furnace for a few days, or buy a rug to cover up some faulty flooring, than to risk having to move. Needless to say, this isn't a very decent way to live. There's a lot to love about living in Redmond, but I hate not having the security of knowing that I'll be able to keep living here, even just a year from now. Moving is so much work and so expensive that if I was forced to move, I think I would feel compelled to move to somewhere like Seattle, since Seattle protects renters from a landlord ending their tenancy without just cause. I think it's a shame we don't have similar protections here. We all deserve that stability, on the east side and here in Redmond. We deserve to live in a place where our friends and neighbors won't be forced to move away because a landlord decides they don't want to renew. We deserve to be able to see the same doctors and send our kids to the same schools. We deserve the right to build a life here without the fear of it being knocked down. Please pass stronger renter protections in Redmond. Please pass the Renters' Bill of Rights. Thank you.
Next is Jessen Matta, then Peyton Steves, then Owen Knight, then Susan Cousins.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council and staff. I'm actually speaking on something different. It's regarding Lifetime and the expansion at Fred Meyer. They purchased it recently for $32 million, and I am a former employee. So my comments today are regarding that permitting process when they begin it. And so first, I want to say thank you for your resources. In the front of the website, I see immigration resources. And as an immigrant, I'm so proud of you for doing that. And when I read your comments, you say that you are about inclusivity and about a hate-free zone. So this comment is about the hate-free part. When I worked at Lifetime, I went on a cut. I'm a personal trainer. I have a shirt on. And so when I brought this attention to my colleagues, they commented and they said, hey, you must have body dysmorphia. And I was like, I probably do, so I let that pass. Another employee said, oh, you must like it raw. I let that pass. I'm a gay man, and I was like, okay. But the third comment really was disturbing when a gentleman who I didn't know very well said, oh, it must be AIDS. And so on that note, I felt supremely isolated in that community, but I held on until the very end. I worked there for a year. Then following that, we found out that there are many actions because members of the community complained. And when they complained, employee relations contacted everyone else except me. So during an investigation, I found it really odd that I wasn't communicated to the victim of the ordeal. And when I commented about this to the corporation, they did admit fault, and now we'll probably go into litigation. So issues here can't be adjudicated here at this council. This is not the appropriate body, and I would not claim anything that is not on paper. But after that $32 million acquisition, Lifetime had the audacity to send an email to the staff members saying that they would reduce our food benefit. That is, we used to get like 20% off food that was already marked up really high, and they said they were going to cut it down to 50%. So that's 10%, which is basically tax, demonstrating again that their care for their employees is quite weak. And so my comment to this council is that if we are building an inclusive community, and this is a very diverse council and a very diverse community, why don't we expect these corporations to abide by the same values that we hold? And we allow corporations to, again, dictate who we are and what we are as a community by hiring people that would do something like this. And when I commented and I asked why this person was hired, it was the bro culture. And you know what that means. And in a gym, we should provide a safe, inclusive space for everyone, gay, straight, and every color of the rainbow. Thank you.
Next is Peyton Steves, then Owen Knight, then Susan Cousins, and Scott Aldridge.
Hi, I'm Peyton Stever. I'm here to speak on behalf of the Seattle Democratic Socialists of America and the East Side branch thereof. And I'm also a Redmond renter. I live right downtown by Light Rail Station. I love living in Redmond. I won't belabor too much the points of the Redmond Renters' Bill of Rights. You've already heard them, and you'll hear them more tonight, I'm sure. But I did want to highlight in particular that DSA stands with all renters against landlords as a way to redress power. And because of that, one way we do that is by giving people more information. And so one of the provisions here would require the city to put up a website that is searchable and that is posted publicly in rental spaces visibly for people to understand their rights and to know better. And knowledge is power on that point. I also wanted to talk a little bit about some issues I've heard. I've heard that there are certain members of the council who are hesitant because they're worried that this might conflict with state law. Let me say that there's no bills in Olympia that are taking on this subject. So it makes what the city is doing more urgent because this is not something that's going to be addressed anytime soon there. I also wanted to echo Lom in saying that there is also consideration of an initiative. DSA and the Transit Riders Union have partnered in initiatives in many places in the county, and I would be surprised if we didn't again. So I hope that the council takes swift action so that we don't have to do that, and that we can have a friendly, renter-friendly city. Thank you so much.
Next is Owen Knight, then Susan Cousins, and Scott Aldridge, then Beverly Marcus.
Thank you, Mayor Bernie, members of the council. My name is Owen Knight. I'm a member of Tech for Housing. I'm here to speak on behalf of our organization in support of this proposal. We're an all-volunteer organization of tech workers across King County, and many of us have benefited from similar elements in this bill in other jurisdictions. We're here in support of passing this proposal by July, and there's a lot of different elements of this proposal that are good, right? We've got the lease stability, we have the retaliation prevention, but one of the things that I think is really helpful about this bill is the ban on junk fees, because they impact the whole rental market in some weird ways. We believe this component of the legislation banning junk fees not only benefits renters in Redmond, it also benefits Redmond's economy, and ultimately in the long run, we also think that it will benefit Redmond's landlords. Junk fees lead to unpredictable final prices. I think every renter knows when they're looking for a listing that they have to mentally calculate in their head that the final cost is really going to be maybe anywhere from 5 to 15% higher than what the listed cost is, right? So that market isn't transparent, and that can lead to an additional $50 to $100 on that rent. That's pretty routine to see in junk fees and other fees like that. So we know that we're not going to be able to see that true final price until after we've already, say, paid the application fee and gone through a background check and then get the actual contract for that lease, right? So we can't even see that true price of the rental until we've already invested money to be able to then see the terms of the lease. So that market just isn't transparent. And what's more insidious about this current setup is that these fees actually disadvantage landlords who are being transparent about their rental prices, because they have to compete against landlords who aren't being transparent. And so their unit looks more expensive, even though folks who are being honest are telling you the full price, and folks who aren't are able to pretend that they're cheaper than they really are. So this really distorts the rental market in a way that we think it doesn't benefit anyone. It doesn't benefit anyone who's in the market in good faith, trying to offer a service or buy a service. The current status quo incentivizes and rewards poor behavior. That's the baseline here. Eliminating these junk fees helps everyone. When you don't know how much you're going to pay, it makes budgeting impossible and housing less affordable. Landlords deserve to be able to cover their costs, to be able to make a profit and ensure that that rental unit is still on the market for folks to use. But renters need transparency about the costs that they're going to pay at the end of the day. Let's make sure that the true cost is presented upfront when renters are considering places. Thank you, and please pass this.
Next is Susan Cousins and Scott Aldridge, then Beverly Marcus, then Wolf Adriatico.
Good evening, Council and Mayor Bernie. My name is Susan Cousins. I live in an apartment. I rent an apartment in downtown Redmond. And I am here with one particular assignment this evening, which is to give you a live example of what the person who just spoke is talking about junk fees. I brought a handout that should be in front of all of you, and you can start on the second page if you want. Do you have a handout that looks something like this? Okay, it's coming. I'll start talking through it while you're looking at it. At any rate, the second page of this handout is from our May 2026 bill for our apartment, and it includes the fees that our landlords are adding for joint utilities of various sorts. And I circled the $31 at the bottom of that because that is new within about the last year. Suddenly they told us, well, we're going to start charging you for the lights in the lobbies and the garage. This is what this charge is. We pay our own electricity bill for our apartment, but we are now paying to not walk into the building in the dark. The first page is some other fees that they're very proud of, and including this smart home and smart building access fee. They changed the entire lock system on the building to an electronic lock system. Many of you probably have it on your homes. We like the system a lot, but they charge everyone $25 a month to have that, whether they use it or not. If you decided to stay with the key, you still get charged this $25. So they are essentially charging us $25 a month to rent the key to our apartment. The other one is a new one, and I can't tell you how many conversations I've had about these. I even had one on this in the elevator on the way over this evening. They have now announced that with every new lease renewal, we're going to have a $65 high-speed internet fee. This is for Xfinity coverage. It is not for any coverage. We have to take Xfinity. We can't determine what's even included in the Xfinity package, and we've been trying to check this out. And if we choose another service provider, we're still paying this $65 fee. Okay, so I never added these up before tonight, but they add up to $165.34. It's going to vary a little bit because this second page costs do, and that is nearly 5% of our rent, and we are paying among the highest rents in the building. So that same $165 is charged on the small units. It is charged on the rent-controlled units. And as far as I know, as far as I understand the state law, increases in that are not covered by the rent stabilization bill. So thank you for your attention. Have fun with the numbers.
Next is Scott Aldridge, then Beverly Marcus, then Wolf Adriatico, then Aaron Hamilton.
Hello, my name is Scott Aldridge. I am the LD48 Party, Democratic Party representative to the Washington State Central Committee. I am a longtime resident and renter in the city of Redmond. I am speaking on behalf of the 48th Legislative District Democrats. We passed a resolution last month without dissent asking the City of Redmond to pass the Redmond Renters Bill of Rights. This resolution is available on our website, ld48dems.org. We are heading into the highest stress economic regime in living memory. Gas prices are poised to quadruple. Potato futures are up 704% this month. The rest of the food prices may do something similar. The new light rail connection between Redmond and Seattle is also going to add some new stressors to the rental market. Banning junk fees, preventing retaliatory evictions, and the other measures to reduce the friction of the end of lease process will help create the stability necessary to continue the growth of the city. I'd like to thank Jessica Forsyth and the other members of the council working on this and encourage you to pass the Bill of Rights before the August recess, when I suspect we might get distracted by the midterm election cycle. Thank you very much.
Next is Beverly Marcus, then Wolf Adriatico, then Aaron Hamilton, then Eugenio Vidalis.
Good evening. I'm Beverly Marcus, a homeowner in Redmond, and here tonight to speak in favor of the Redmond Renters Bill of Rights. You've already heard the very important renter protections advanced in this proposal: truth in lending, stability, retaliation ban, elimination of rent traps, and increased information and advocacy for renters. So I would simply like to add that as a homeowner who has the luxury of housing stability not afforded to renters, I fully support this proposal. Stability is so key to everyday life, including knowing that your kids can stay in their schools. Given that nearly 2/3 of Redmond households are renters, I urge the City Council to help this large population experience the benefits of stability and fairness by adopting this proposal by the end of July. Thank you.
Next is Wolf Adriatico, then Aaron Hamilton, then Eugenio Vidalis, then Nicholas Montgomery.
Hello. I'm here to speak about the Old Firehouse Teen Center. Before this meeting, I visited the Old Firehouse Teen Center, currently being demolished. I saw the outside stage and the rest of the fence dismantled. The planks are currently on site. The former were painted recently by a teen, and I doubt neither contain hazardous materials indicative of their time. What measures are the city taking to preserve these? I expect the city will handle the rest of it with the same lack of care. The permanent destructive actions that the city is taking in the demolition process, which in itself I understand is necessary, make respectful preservation of the site impossible. They limit any future efforts to do so day by day. The city clearly does not treat the old firehouse with the same reverence as its citizens do. Had the city conducted any sort of engagement regarding the demolition and design with the community, missteps like this could have been avoided. Instead, the city perpetually betrays the community's trust and causes more and more friction between it and the current elected officials. Another tragic failure of preservation comes to mind, that of Chicago's Garrick Theater in 1961, built in 1861. Despite remodels over the century, the signature original architecture remained distinct. When developers marked it for demolition, there was major community outcry. The ineffective 1957 Landmark Commission and developers' wealth and influence proved insurmountable to the public, and it was eventually torn down. The fight to keep it up opened the city's eyes to the importance of preserving their storied past. They kept fighting, eventually creating the 1966 National Historic Preservation Act and Chicago's Landmark Ordinance, first of which protects a few other Redmond landmarks. Among its criteria, think of the old firehouse and question why you did not seek its protections. A, that are associated with events that have made a significant contribution to the broad patterns of our history, or B, that are associated with the lives of persons significant in our past, or C, that embody the distinctive characteristics of a type, period, or method of construction, or that represent the work of a master, or that possess higher artistic values, or that represent a significant and distinguishable entity whose components may lack individual distinction, or D, that have yielded or may be likely to yield information important in prehistory or history. In conclusion, the city promised teens a central seat at the table during the demolition design process, and to honor the old firehouse's legacy throughout it, and has done nothing to follow through on that lip service. Thank you.
Next is Aaron Hamilton, then Eugenio Vidalis, then Nicholas Montgomery, then Kate Sprague.
Hello. Actually, this is probably going to be very quick, believe it or not. I would like to thank the city council and the mayor for finally moving forward on all of the mental health related budgeted items. I know you've made myself, Jamie, and Mary, and I'm sure many other people at Redmond Police Department and Redmond Fire very excited to get rolling on the new MHP. I'm hoping for a little bit of clarification about the new MHP hire during the, I think it was at the study session where they said that the position is going to be focused on juveniles, which is important and critical. But one of the sticking points that I've been bringing up regarding this program is the current gap that we have when our current MHP is not on duty. We have 3 full days of no coverage and evenings without anybody on duty. So when they say that this new MHP position is just for juveniles, is this position also going to be a generalist when our current MHP is off duty? Or is that gap still going to be there because they're working on juvenile cases? So hopefully I can get some clarification, because it would be nice if they can do both, at least when Mary's off duty, to cover that gap. And a little blurb about the firehouse. Buildings do actually define communities. Without buildings, there are no community. And when the building is gone, the majority of the community disperses. And we've seen that with the old firehouse. I have seen that community vanish because there's nothing there to replace it. Mary Moore does not cover the services that were provided in the old firehouse. So without buildings, we don't have a community. And without a community, we don't have buildings. If the council is serious about preserving the old firehouse's legacy, I hope that during the design phase that you strongly recommend that the new building looks exactly like looks like a firehouse. That's really the only way that you would be able to preserve that legacy of making it a firehouse again and call it the new Firehouse Teen Center. Trademark, copyright. Thank you.
Next is Eugenio Vidalis, then Nicholas Montgomery, then Kate Sprague, then Jackie Kimsey.
Good evening. My name is Eugenio Vidalis. I've been renting in Redmond since I graduated from college. My wife and I have lived in 3 apartment complexes, Radiate, Station House, and the colony at Bear Creek. Whenever our lease ends, we try to compare prices around Redmond to see if it's worth the hassle to move to a new spot. Comparing apartment prices can be very tricky. Base rent alone almost never reflects the actual monthly cost. Apartment complexes charge different types of fees, use different names for the same type of fees, calculate fees using different methods, or don't publicly disclose them on their website. The purpose of junk fees is to try to hide the true cost of rent in order to appear cheaper in a quick rent search. An efficient housing market requires renters to be informed and easily compare prices. Junk fees ruin that. If an apartment's shared amenities, trash valet, or extra services cost more, that should be baked into the base rent, not hidden in another fee. Please pass the proposed Renters' Bill of Rights before the end of July to empower renters and make the housing market just a little bit more transparent. Thank you.
Next is Nicholas Montgomery, then Kate Sprague, then Jackie Kimsey, then Sambath Eat.
Hello, my name is Nicholas Montgomery Demian. I am the second vice chair of the 45th Democrats, a father, and a renter here in Redmond. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today about something that is very important to my family and to the 45th Democrats. We need a Renters' Bill of Rights right now. I want to thank the council for their vocal support of these initiatives, and I'm here today in spirit of collaboration to accomplish the goals myself and many here today strongly believe will make Redmond a stronger city. I am advocating for urgency and for this to be accomplished by the end of July, as the recent opening of the East Link could potentially exacerbate these problems if not addressed quickly. As a father of a 5-month-old, I can speak firsthand to the anxiety we feel every renewal season about whether we will have to pick up our whole lives and move. How could we potentially plan for a future when we don't know if we're going to be living in the same school district, or try to build a long-term community with my neighbors when this worry is in the background of my mind? We need the right of first refusal protection to strengthen our community. These proposed changes don't prohibit a landlord or business owner from making a profit, or even to increase rent to compete with the market. They promote stability by establishing the right of first refusal for tenants, like what was similarly done in Seattle. And they prevent rent traps, which can leave families with no choice in a precarious situation. The reality of our current situation does not match the values that we all hold dear. Every week, more and more renters are moving into Redmond. Additionally, our city has a large immigrant population, and they are under threat from the federal government. We need to reassure them that they are safe here in Redmond. So many are moving here, taking advantage of all the improvements that you all have made to this city. But if we are going to sustain this growth, this issue must be fixed immediately. The 45th Democrats have passed 2 resolutions echoing their support over the years for these initiatives. In 2021, we asked Redmond to pass a renter's protection, and we thank you for doing that, but we still need to do more to address the right of first refusal in this resolution. In 2023, the membership resolved that the Redmond City Council enable transparency and the ability to get out of rent traps. The membership is excited to see these issues addressed, and we want to avoid this being a controversy in 2027. With the World Cup coming to Washington next month, and with the light rail open, we have a chance to advertise our city to the world, as many tourists will look to spend time in our city during the People's Game. What better way to demonstrate our values than providing stability to our renters? And what better message to send to the world community than that our city takes care of its renter population, which makes up almost 2/3 of its residents? Thank you all for your support of these initiatives, and the 45th Democrats are excited to keep working with you all to make this city a more accessible place for all. Thank you very much for your time.
Next is Kate Sprague, then Jackie Kimsey, then Sambath, I don't know how to say your last name, and then David Morton.
Awesome. Is it all right to speak? Thank you so much. My name is Kate Sprague. I'm a local software engineer. I don't like to think about it, but let's just say that if I'd hypothetically had a child the first year I moved here, they'd be old enough to vote for you. I'm here today to speak because I've been directly affected by the unfair realities of renting in Redmond and to appeal to you to enact policies that further protect your citizens. Specifically, please support the Redmond Renters Bill of Rights. Over the last year, I have paid almost $500 in common area fees. That's gas for the fireplace fixture in the lobby of my building, the lights in the common areas. I may have access to some of these, but I have no ability to manage their activity personally. And I have no power to turn any of these on or off. Recently, I was informed by building management that routine maintenance that used to be their responsibility, covered by property managers, is going to be increasingly pushed onto tenants. A broken toilet seat or a specialty light bulb in areas inaccessible for residents are now going to be billed to you directly. This month, I paid $20 to be able to use the bathroom that I've already paid rent on. I'm also forced to use an app to interface with property management, which as a developer is a little bit messed up because it's actually embedded in another app. We don't need to get into this. But I will say that it does affect the accessibility and makes it more difficult for everyone to use, but especially for people with disabilities. This is my day job. I know what I'm talking about here. I'm sorry. You can't pay rent any other way than using this app. Your payment won't be processed. Building management has made that abundantly clear. They say it all the time. However, the results are recursive. We now have to pay fees and rent. $3.99 per payment for each, I cannot talk, sorry, give me a moment. $3.99 for payment by bank, $7.99 if you want to use a credit card or a debit card. When including service fees and other mandatory charges, this year I paid nearly $1,000 in colloquially what are known as junk fees, what these folks are trying to convince you to take action on. Finally, I still fear some reprisal for this, so I'm a little nervous, but February 11th through March 13th this year, a full month, while outside temperatures were below freezing, my building had no hot water, which is a serious habitability and safety issue. After the first 2 weeks, I called in on the public line to City Hall to seek help from you. And I was told by a representative of one of your offices when I called in begging for assistance that there was nothing you could do, that I should remain patient and that it will be fixed soon because they are making best effort.
In conclusion?
In conclusion, in my experience, renters suffer unfair financial burdens locally, and they don't have the practical basic tenant rights that they expect to. Thank you so much for your time. Please consider
Next is Jackie
action.
Kimsey, then Zambath, then David Morton, then Linda Seltzer.
Hello, councilors. My name is Jackie Kimsey, and I'm a renter in Redmond, asking you all to pass the Redmond Renters Bill of Rights. When I started renting an apartment in the greater Seattle area, I was shocked by the amount of fees attached to renting. There are fees to apply for an apartment, a hefty deposit, a full month's rent, a fee to apply to have each pet, a pet deposit, a fee for receiving packages, pet rent, parking rent, even a fee to pay my rent. In addition, the payment app for paying rent is charging me extra late fees for things beyond my control. I have no control over these fees and no way to opt out of any of them. I don't even have control over how I pay my rent. I'm forced by my landlord to use Built, this app, which is unreliable. Multiple times it has failed to pay rent with the auto pay setup that and I was charged late fees. When I've contacted them, they told me, well, it looks like your auto pay went through just fine. I'm like, well, then why do I have a late fee? I don't know. And they just hung up on me, and that was it. When I reached out to my managers at the apartment complex, they said, oh yeah, that's happened to a lot of people. Nothing we can do. And I'm just stuck here with late fees for no reason. I've rented apartments in Redmond, Bellevue, and Kirkland. Each place has had a different list of junk fees, but they all have them. By the time I've paid my $240 some odd, that's like $60 just to apply by 4 adults, it's hard to walk away when I then learn about the high price just to park my car. Landlords have all the power, and renters often have little to no recourse. We're stuck in year-plus rental agreements, whereas landlords can change the rules of the agreement or fees and payment options at any time. In fact, Built wasn't the one we started with at our current apartment complex. We were forced into another one, but we at least had the option to pay by check, and now we have no option to pay by check. I asked Built multiple times, I'd like to pay directly from my bank account since you guys keep failing to pay my bill properly, and they wouldn't allow me to do that either. I've never encountered this, and it's so strange to me that renting is so difficult. I'm a software engineer. I make good money. I don't know how people who don't make the amount of money I make are even affording this, because it's expensive. My fees per month are about $980 in addition to my rent. So please, I'm begging that we get a Redmond Renters Bill of Rights. Thank you.
Next is Sambhav, then David Morton, then Linda Seltzer.
Good evening, Mayor Bernie and Council Member Presidents, stewards, and Council members. My name is Sambat Iat, and I am here with the Friends of the Village Collective, and we are 11 coalitions of community-based organizations here on the East Side working to support immigrants, refugees, and underserved community across these regions. So I'm here today, just like many of us here, is to urge the City of Redmond and the Mayor and its staff to act with urgency to move this Bill of Rights by the end of July. Redmond is growing, and with the opening of the light rail, we know that housing demands will continue to increase. This growth brings opportunities, but it also creates pressures on the renters, just like we heard, especially with our community, our low incomes, our seniors, our immigrants, and the people of color. For many families, housing stability is not just putting a roof over ourselves, but it's about being able to stay connected to school, to work, to healthcare, to transit, and to our community. And as you heard, nearly 2/3 of Redmond's household are renters. These residents contribute to your city every day. They work here. They raise their families here. They pay tax here. And they support local business here. And they help, especially they help Redmond to be the great city as it is. So Redmond Renters Bill of Rights is not just reasonable, but practical. Renters need clear, fair information about fees. They need protections from retaliations when they ask for repairs or speak about their rights. They need the ability to move when rents increase too much for them to bear without being trapped by penalty or fees. Renters on lease deserve stability and continued tenancy when they're paying rent or following the rules. These protections are not extremes. What we ask is not extremes. It's about fairness, about transparencies and stabilities. And as someone who works closely with our immigrants and refugees communities, I also want to emphasize that housing stability is especially important right now. Many of our families are already facing fear, uncertainty, and the raising of costs of food, healthcare, gas, and other basic needs. It's fearful. And so when housing becomes unreasonable, unstable, our family is affected. Redmond has called itself as a welcoming city. So I believe that welcoming people also mean creating real policy that help family stay housed, safe, and secure. So today, I respectfully ask the mayor and the council member and its staff to pass the rental bills of right by the end of July. Please do not delay any longer. Redmond cannot wait. We need stability now. So thank you for your leadership and for your time.
Next is David Morton, then Linda Seltzer, and then we'll move online.
Good evening, council members and mayor. I'm David Morton. I spoke to the Planning Commission about 9 gaps in Redmond's water management programs. Now I want to focus on 2 of those gaps and on a governance framework that can close both gaps. Gap 1, Redmond has no citywide recycled water program of its own. Washington State's reclaimed water rules allow treated wastewater effluent to be reused for non-potable purposes like landscape irrigation, industrial cooling, street washing, and toilet flushing in large buildings. King County's Bright Water Treatment Plant already produces recycled water and distributes it through purple pipelines running through the Sammamish Valley into Redmond. Recycled water is already being used at 60 Acres Park, but Redmond has no city-administered recycled water framework, no municipal recycled water master plan, and no policy requiring or incentivizing new developments to connect to that available infrastructure. That the city is leaving a proven drought-proof resource significantly underutilized. Meanwhile, 60% of Redmond's drinking water comes from the Tolt River, a water supply that's reduced by the declining Cascade snowpack, which has resulted in Washington's 4 consecutive drought emergencies. Redmond 2050 projects tens of thousands of new residents. The city cannot responsibly absorb that growth without diversifying its water supply. Gap 2, Redmond's gray water reuse policy is severely limited. Redmond allows gray water reuse, but only with approval from both the Public Works Director and King County Department of Health. Applications are restricted due to concerns about groundwater and surface water contamination. The result is that dense new development in downtown and Overlake, where Redmond 2050 is concentrating growth, has no practical pathway to reuse sink, shower, and laundry water on site for toilet flushing or subsurface irrigation. These are proven low-risk technologies. The barrier is policy, not engineering. The solution to both gaps is integrated governance. The One Water framework, endorsed by the American Water Works Association and the U.S. Water Alliance, treats all water as a single finite resource and breaks down the silos between utilities. If Redmond established a One Water working group with a mandate to develop a recycled water master plan and a streamlined gray water ordinance, both gaps could move from identified problems to funded programs within this council's term. Please direct staff to begin that work. Thank you.
Next is Linda Seltzer.
My name is Linda Seltzer, Seltzer like the soda. And as you know, I have sent you a Substack, the links to my Substack, and I hope that everyone has read it about the problem of demolition of apartments in Redmond. And I will change my testimony topic tonight to join the renters. I have lived in the same senior apartment complex for the past 17 years, and the city's zoning codes have zoned not only my apartment complex, but the one next door and some of the ones around the corner in what's called a neighborhood zone or neighborhood multifamily zone. And they incentivize demolition of our apartment complex. So what happened in my building is that, and the building next door, is that if some developer offers the owners of these 2 apartment complexes a price that they can't turn down, then suddenly we would all be displaced because of demolition. And we see other apartment complexes currently being demolished, like the one on 85th Street and on 164th, that beautiful old apartment with the nice trees and everything. That one's going to be is scheduled for demolition. So my apartment complex is being zoned. The voting on the zoning code amendments, like I introduced at the Planning Commission meeting an amendment which they chose to support for them to vote on, and I think there's supposed to be another meeting this week. I have to know what the date is. Whether they're going to I propose just deleting that clause to rezone the neighborhood multifamily area from being demolished. And the city has done really nothing to help the people when the apartment complexes get demolished. Then you just have to find some other place to live. And some people just said, oh, well, you could just go to the county. That means that they just throw us into the King County homeless system. You could be living and paying your rent every month in the King County, for 17 years, and suddenly, because of the city council, really, and the mayor's office and the city planning department causing this rezoning of our places, it would be your fault, not the fault of the landlords, not the fault of the developers. It would be your fault for our displacement, and then saying you can just go to the King County homelessness system and go look for another place to live somewhere. And people here have already talked about the problems of moving.
Next is, we're going to go online. We have Michelle Thomas and then Max Rollman.
This is Michelle.
Hi, you have 3 minutes to address the council.
Thank you. Is it my time already?
Please go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Hi, I'm Michelle Thomas with the Washington Low Income Housing Alliance. Thank you so much for hearing my testimony this evening virtually. I'm calling in to urge you to introduce and pass the Redmond Renters Bill of Rights no later than July of this year. Renters in Redmond can't wait for state action. As someone who has worked on state-level renter protection policies for over 2 decades, I can tell you that the state legislature often works much slower than is helpful to respond to urgent housing needs. The proposal sent to you is a thoughtful strategy to help keep people in their homes. Keeping people in their homes goes a long way towards community stability, which is a fundamental basis for a healthy and equitable city. Renter protections, such as those outlined in the Bill of Rights, will help prevent homelessness, and it will help ensure that Redmond's renters can experience economic stability that is absolutely essential to move into first-time home ownership. Additionally, many renters in Redmond are immigrants who are facing greater uncertainty in this terrible era of federal immigration attacks. The additional stability and security from the proposed legislation will be especially helpful to them. You should want the renters of Redmond to be able to stay in Redmond. And the good news is that you have many tools in your toolbox to increase housing stability. Each component of the carefully crafted Bill of Rights is important, and most have already been passed and tested in other Washington cities, but I especially want to highlight the prohibition on junk fees. The Housing Alliance has heard from renters across the state, including in Redmond and Easton County, that are being gouged with unfair, unjustifiable, and significantly expensive fees, including fees such as things to pay your rent, fees to be delivered routine notices from property management, fees to cover the basic costs of landlording, HVAC fees, fees to have a third-party company take the garbage from the hall to the bin, and more. Additionally, there's a lot of gaming going on around utility fees, including the use of third-party companies that claim to split the entire property's utility bill between all units and then to bill tenants on behalf of the landlord. This and other ratio billing systems have no actual correlation to the utility use of a tenant's household. and tenants have no transparency about either the process to split up the bill or how much the property is actually being billed. Further, this kind of bill does not provide the tenant with any oversight or control over the utility used by the management. So for example, they could have a broken sprinkler system or leaking pipes, and the tenant would still have to pay for that water. These are only some examples from a long list of junk fees that tenants are being slammed with. It's outrageous, and it's just another example of unregulated nickel and diming of renters. It's got to stop, and that is within your power. At a time when the cost of living is becoming more and more unsustainable for renter
And
households,
I'm
we're asking
sorry.
you to take action quickly.
Your time is up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Max Ruhlman.
Hello.
Hello, you have 3 minutes to address the council.
Excellent. Yeah, hello. I don't have a script today, so I'm just going to be rambling about the things that have been happening. Today is my birthday, so I'm turning 20, so that's pretty cool and weird, being 20. I feel old, and yet also don't think that's that old, so figuring that out. Here up in Bellingham, I'm working in collaboration with the city and the Parks and Rec Department to put on a festival October 2nd and 3rd.
Max, remember, your items need to refer, have something to do with the city of Redmond, please.
Absolutely, yes, and they do. Yes. So the things I learned at the firehouse have allowed me to do the things I'm doing up here. The name Old Firehouse has a lot of power, and there's a lot of recognition of what was done there. And that's been really helpful, having that experience up here. I was at a music conference, a music industry conference yesterday. Sunday. There were people from Crocodile, of course, Vera Project, and there was even someone who had worked at the firehouse way before I was there, 2006 to 2011. And it's been pretty interesting, hearing their perspectives, because they're very different from mine. I'm learning that there are a lot of different eras of the firehouse that were all unique in their own ways. Separately from that music industry conference, there was a Scholars Day up here at Fairhaven College last Thursday, and there was a term I learned that made me think of, I guess, some of my concerns about the firehouse and what the solution could be going forward. Discussing, I guess, it was square dance music in the Ozarks. One of the panelists mentioned the term generational exchange, which was passing down of knowledge and tradition from one generation to the next. And I absolutely think that occurred at the old firehouse. After COVID, that generational exchange chain was broken. And it was because of people like Cameron Bower and Jackson Levitt that we were able to keep that spirit alive. As I'm now moving on to this next phase of whatever it is I'm doing, I really hope to have a part to play in that generational exchange, in that passing down of knowledge and information, because I don't think you can have a sustainable community without that. Yeah. Sorry for the lack of a script today, but you all take care. Hope that was relevant. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Happy birthday, too. All right, that's the end of items from the audience for this evening. Our next item of business is the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. Are there any items to be pulled this evening? Seeing none, this will be a voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? That passes 7-0. I have an ordinance to read into the record. Ordinance number 3260, an ordinance of the City of Redmond, Washington, granting Olympic Pipeline Company, LLC, Delaware Limited Liability Company, its successors, and assigns a non-exclusive franchise to construct, operate, maintain, remove, replace, and repair pipeline facilities, together with equipment and appurtenances thereto for the transportation of petroleum products within and through the franchise area of the City of Redmond, providing for severability and establishing an effective date. The next item is a staff report on the World Cup planning update, all programs and activities. Seraphy Allen, Deputy Director of Planning and Community Development, will introduce this item.
Chip or someone? It's looking like it's not.
Chris, we're having a hard time putting the PowerPoint up on the screen.
Sorry, I can also.
Yep.
It's just not going through, but I can also join and share my screen. Okay.
And it worked.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's fine. Okay, good evening, City Council. My name is Seraphy Allen. I'm the Deputy Director of Planning and Community Development, and I am excited to share that we are less than a month away. I think it's 22 days from the first match for the World Cup. So tonight, we're going to be going over a program overview, all the work that staff have been up to with community. And before we did that, though, I wanted to just give some brief highlights and share that here in Redmond, we've taken a proactive and really community-led centered approach, focusing on our small businesses. And while we are expecting a lot of tourism, which we'll get to later, we really wanted to make sure that we are taking this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to really build our community and share what we love about Redmond. So we've made strategic investments in community-led activations, including World Cup grants that are include local event planning, neighborhood programming, and creative placemaking across the city. Some examples include the Recovery Beyond, an experience for those in recovery or wishing for sober-friendly events. And another one with the Center for Global Muslim Life, offering youth-focused day of activities and halal food festival. This work, as I said, has been deeply collaborative, spanning departments, regional partners, and organizations. And with our recent light rail expansions, we're more connected than ever and creating new pathways for visitors to come and explore Redmond. It's been one of my daily commutes, and I've been running into people even before the World Cup doing that. So just want to give a toot to light rail being open again. We are focused on delivering a welcoming and vibrant and inclusive experience, one that reflects our diversity, innovation, and spirit of community. As we look beyond the World Cup, we're committed to using this summer as a springboard to growth and future collaboration and building stronger and a more vibrant Redmond that's further recognized by the world for who we are. So with that, we will go ahead and get into it. So I just wanted to briefly give an overview of the 6 matches that will be in Seattle. I just gave a couple examples of other maybe games that will be shown. So it's not going to just be these 6 matches that'll be in Seattle, but there's many mini games that are going to be televised and that people will be interested in. And then of course we have the World Cup final match on July 19th. So I did want to briefly touch on that, there's been a lot of concerns, and during this national time, we are seeing, maybe not as anticipated, the number of hotel bookings, and this has been a question the council has asked, so I wanted to address that up front and say, they're still seeing kind of a doubling of rates with limited supply, and that kind of goes as the closer and closer we get, hotels will release further batches of availability. But just nationally too, we've seen kind of a lower amount of expectation, which is unfortunate. And as I said before, we already were focusing on how we could build our local community in addition to welcoming visitors, but it doesn't necessarily change our programming. Speaking of our programming, the Economic Development Division has hosted 5 quarterly business and community World Cup strategy meetings, mostly in this room. We've had a wonderful series called Football for All and has hosted 6 speakers with 3 more to come by the end of June. The attendance has been about 40 to 60 people per event, and can attest, this event with the mayor and Lou Barnes was like pretty special. We had a council member there as well. And it was just my favorite to see, especially like little kids, boys and girls, like really engaging and asking questions at the Q&A at the end, which I would have been long gone, but they were in there. As previously mentioned, we had have a watch party grants with 28 grantees. And I just want to say too that we've assigned staff to every one of those grantees, really as a chance to build that collaboration, to show how, not just for this grant, but for future, how we can kind of have partnerships. And so they'll be hosting watch parties between June and July. And so you can go to the experienceredmond.gov, which will have all of those events that we're helping to support, but also events that Redmond's not directly providing grant funding to. And I did want to give a slight note that you won't see our branding on their events as we might typically require, and that's due to some of the FIFA requirements and concerns. So just wanted to say that, but know that our team's behind the work and that your dollars are being invested well. We also have the Rave Foundation and Parks Department that's hosting the free day of play and hopefully giving out the 200 free soccer balls. And then we've had 3 soccer ambassador program meetings, which has been representative from the nonprofit and private sector who have helped advise the mayor and city staff on how to use this opportunity. And then lastly, I did want to give a highlight that we've had an internal city staff group and that they'll be doing a number of quizzes. It looks like my presentation got out there, but we have had employees go to a Sounders game and a Reign game. It was just the Reign game on Friday night. I heard it was a bit of a drizzly game, but on the Sounders game, they got to go down on the field and have a big staff picture with their family, and just again, an opportunity for how we can build community together. So to highlight some of the key dates, so Football for All event that's coming up at Brick and Mortar Books. I think this is the 2nd or 3rd that we've had at Brick and Mortar events. As mentioned, the soccer ambassador meeting. Zach's going to be talking about this later, but we'll be having a legacy sign unveiling on June 12th, and as well as the kickoff at Redmond Town Center. We have more Football for All events, and then I'll have a little bit more on this later, but the Meet Me at Marymore event, which will really culminate all of our work for that final match. I did want to give a shout out. We've had, as I mentioned earlier, a number of partnerships. Amazon has been a fantastic partner and has given the city, it's later on one of my slides, but it's upwards of 170,000, I think, overall, to support World Cup activations, and also supported us in purchasing the screen that Redmond Town Center will be using and activating, but it's under the city ownership, but we're loaning it to help support Redmond Town Center and activating kind of the daily watch parties. Of course, also wanted to give a shout out to the Rave Foundation. King County Parks is going to be putting their dollars also into helping us put on the Meet Me at Marymore event and support working with us. And then also we've had a Port of Seattle grant. So with this, I'm going to turn it over to my partners in public safety to provide a brief update on their work.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening, City Council. I'm Nathan Hupp, Emergency Manager for Redmond. Starting off with the fire department, one update is that in April, e-bikes were added as a new resource to help medical crews reach patients more quickly in crowded or more remote areas. And this is during FIFA as well as any of our other major events, think like Derby Days. And then transitioning over to emergency management. Last month, we conducted a very successful regional tabletop exercise with some of our key partners, and city staff have been participating in numerous training opportunities. And then really excited, and you've probably seen some campaigns lately, but last month we also launched Alert Redmond. This is our emergency notification system. As part of that system, we did create a keyword. It's Redmond Ready. And for those who want to receive Redmond-focused FIFA alerts, and on our last slide, we have how to sign up for that. I'll turn it over to police.
Good evening, Brian Coates, Deputy Police Chief. And we feel like we are really prepared from a public safety response to bring this event to our community. For the game day staffing, we have our regular patrol staffing, plus an additional 6 officers that are on overtime. And then on the non-match days, there's obviously going to be a lot of hustle and bustle throughout the community, so we will have an extra 3 officers on duty for those days as well. We have a very robust command and control structure over all the elements that will be necessary to keep the community safe during this event, from patrol being the backbone to the real-time information center, UAS deployments, crime analysts keeping track of what's going on in games across the country, so that if there's an incident that sparks there, we can kind of have a foreshadowing of things to come here during the Seattle games. The emphasis is going to be just high visibility patrol, a lot of officers outside the car walking around, mingling with the community, a lot of presence at the light rail stations. And then a real robust traffic control plan. There's going to be a lot of people coming to downtown Redmond and to the Marymoor Village Station in particular to hop on the train in order to commute over to the Seattle Stadium in Seattle. So a lot of presence there and a lot of one-way in, one-way out, kind of a traffic control plan there just to keep everybody moving. For the Meet Me at Marymoor event in Marymoor Park on July 19th, kind of a unique opportunity because technically it's a King County jurisdiction, but we're partnering with the county. And likewise for law enforcement, we're partnering with King County deputies to have a Redmond uniform presence inside the park for security and outside for traffic control. So looking forward to it, and we feel like we are ready to go. With that, I'll turn it over to logistics.
Good evening, Council. Zach Hubner, Deputy of Equity and Strategic Services. I've had the pleasure of overseeing the Operations and Logistics subgroup. We've met 8 times, and really this subgroup has culminated in kind of this bundling of different things that are going on for World Cup. I'm going to be presenting a couple of things that the team worked on. One of them being guidelines and internal and expedited processes and workflows for our business community who are hoping to take advantage of House Bill 1515 and the expanded alcohol service and process. On game days, we will be having TDM staff present at the downtown Redmond station. We also know that Sound Transit will have ambassadors at every light rail station 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. during the entire month of the games. And then for anyone who has wandered over to Downtown Park recently, you'll probably have seen construction crews fencing in the northwest edge of the grass circle. And what has previously been mentioned of the legacy sign unveiling, for those listening public that don't know what a legacy sign is, it's more of like an Instagram-worthy photo opportunity that we're gonna be unveiling on June 12th from 2 to 3 p.m. These are 5-foot tall concrete letters, all formed in-house by our concrete crew. I was told when I saw the letter R over at the MOC that they weigh over 4,100 pounds each. So we have it all blocked off. We've got hard hats. And so the team is currently installing those letters. We're really excited to unveil it. On the front, you'll see that graphic on the bottom of the PowerPoint right now. Some porcelain enamel designs that we worked on that will bring the themes that bring Redmond together. So the R is a heron, the E has different types of athletics, D is for technology, M has natures and trails, the O is space and satellites, the N is welcome in a variety of different languages, and then the D is a life cycle of a salmon. Lastly, before I hand it over to Brandon and Public Works, we will be unveiling and launching our Redmond Public Art GIS map before the first game kicks off. So anyone visiting Redmond or who lives in Redmond can see several of our public artworks, not only from the city, but also from King County Library System, Sound Transit, et cetera. So that will be more information to come, but that should launch the first week in June. I'll hand it over to Brandon.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. Proud to introduce just a couple of updates in terms of infrastructure and mobility readiness for the World Cup. Last year, Redmond unveiled its first pedestrian crossing at 166th and Redmond Way in anticipation of light rail, and we are pleased to announce that we have turned on 3 additional pedestrian scrambles along Redmond Way downtown. Pedestrian scrambles allow the public to cross the intersection at any direction when the signals go on and all vehicle traffic stops. So it provides a lower stress experience to the increase in visitors that we'll see during the World Cup. Public Works crews also installed banners and have facilitated the concrete letters that Zach talked about and are very proud of their contribution to the World Cup readiness. We love the way that downtown Redmond is coming together and looking for the World Cup. Just a note kind of building on what Nate and Deputy Chief Coates introduced in terms of public safety and emergency readiness. We have mobile barriers that we can deploy to support crowd control, closed right-of-way, watch party events, whatever the need is, and our crews are appropriately staffed to maintain readiness throughout the event. That's what I have. Thank you.
Next, we have communications.
I'm sorry. I was trying to make that go away. Good evening, Council and Mayor. Kelly Schutz, Communications Manager, City of Redmond. For communications and World Cup preparedness, we've been really excited to support all the great work that's already been talked about by the other departments and divisions in the city. So things like the watch parties, the grants program, Football for All, our Soccer Stories program. These have all been things that starting last fall when we first announced Redmond is ready for the world, it's kind of been a steady drumbeat and has been picking up speed, and we're really excited to sort of jump in and do even more as we continue and head into the actual World Cup festivities. We're excited to also use the opportunity. We're doing a lot more with Reels and social short form video, something that we're sort of expanding in general with our city comms, but using the World Cup as a way to sort of take advantage, using some fun and trending sort of ways to appeal to people and maybe reach some folks that we haven't tended to reach. We're also doing a lot of media outreach to look to place coverage about some of the things that are going on. What we're doing here in Redmond is actually truly unique. We've had folks saying that to us, not just in the community. Some of the folks who are doing work within Seattle, Brad Evans, one of us, former Sounder who's been helping us out and doing some events for us, have really been complimentary about the things that the city is doing and the way that they have not seen other cities activating in the same way. So we're really trying to get some of those stories out there, make sure that this is seen not just as preparing for the World Cup, but looking beyond. As we look ahead, obviously we've got the games kicking off in Seattle, but then in July we have that Meet Me at Marymore, the July 19th World Cup final celebration. Of course, we're calling it our soccer final celebration since we can't say World Cup. So we're keeping a little safe there, but we'll be throwing a huge party with King County Parks and inviting sort of the whole East Side. Other East Side cities were not activating around the final, so it really gave us an opportunity to do something big, not just for Redmond, but for the region. So you'll start seeing a lot more. The comms sort of have just started for that as people are now really thinking about the World Cup. And so we'll be picking up steam there, making sure people are all looking forward to coming together and having a great way to celebrate at the end of July. All right, thank you.
Good evening, Council. Harita Nara from Finance, Deputy Director. This slide shows a very high-level overview of our World Cup budget. All the amazing things that you have heard so far is shown here in numbers. The World Cup budget, the first graph or the first section, which primarily shows how much of the World Cup budget is funded by city and how much is being through grants and contributions that Serafi talked about earlier in the earlier slide. So the total World Cup budget is approximately 2.4 million, including the grants and contributions. 2 million is budgeted in 25-26 as part of our budget process, and the rest, like about 395,000, is from grants and contributions. So to date, on the middle graph, on the pie chart, you see the budget allocation by the subgroups that we have just talked about, or other deputies have reviewed. So this is of almost 21% of the total World Cup budget is allocated for operations and logistics, public safety, and 41% into community activations, which are primarily the programs that Serafi and talked about earlier, like screens, football for all, watch parties, and all that. And communications and marketing is primarily what Kelly has talked about. So far, we have spent, as of March, we have spent about 733,000 of the whole World Cup budget. We haven't really seen a very high spike in the public safety yet, because these are something that will happen after, during the World Cup, and we will see the more costs or spending in those categories after the World Cup. That's all I have to share.
Okay, and then I'm going to wrap it up by sharing a little bit more about Meet Me at Marymore. So as mentioned, it's the final match. The event that the city of Redmond is truly like putting on in partnership with a contractor is that our event will offer music, stage performances, food, beverages. So if anyone's gone to a Marymore live concert, it's going to feel like that, but you get to watch the final match. And as stated, we're really wanting to market this towards like families around our region with, you know, how great would it be to sit there on the grass with your picnic blanket and then be able to have kids events and other things, and really that opportunity. And what's really special about this is we'll get to highlight so many of the things that make Redmond Redmond, and I don't want to go too far out to tell you who we've secured, but I'll just say the Redmond High School Band so far and some other things like that. But really looking at how we're representing our culture and community to the region. And also, again, want to say we are inviting like the Seattle Sports Commission and King County and other representatives to join us and really see this as a appreciation and end to hopefully a great summer there. So. Just wanted to share that. I did want to say the tickets are free too, and we have up to right now we're in the midst of still securing a final license, and so with FIFA. And so if we receive that license, we'll be able to get up to 4,000 attendees. If we don't receive that license, then we'll have almost up to 1,000 attendees. So I think we'll be okay, and we're pulling all the strings. It's just part of working with a global organization. So lastly, just want to say how can you and community get involved? So visit redmond.gov and soccer and stay informed. We've so appreciated you attending our Football for All series and acting as speakers or helping us with that. Tell your soccer story. That's to the community who's listening, and to council. Attend our events, bring your friends. Also, we want to promote the Meet Me at Marymore. I just saw a staff list where we are going to be reaching out to every single community partner and asking them to bring 10 of their friends or 10 people from their organization. So that's our CBOs and partners, and really wanting, even if they're not going to be maybe putting on something in this space that they would be able to market to their communities and bring their folks to the event. And then, as Nathan shared, text Redmond Ready and making sure you're informed of our kind of public safety. I'll actually throw another one in there and say ride Red Link and the 2-line ahead of time, so if you haven't already. So with that, we'll go ahead and take questions.
Oh, look at all the hands. Councilmember Forsyth.
Thank you. Great presentation, really appreciate it. As I was sitting here listening, I realized we're gonna have a lot of people from other parts of the world, other parts of the country visiting, and they're not gonna be familiar with our Drone as a First Responder program. So what are we doing to communicate our program, not only on our normal channels, but to hotels so that they have that information and can share that information when concerns come up from community members and visitors?
I will look to Deputy Chief Coates.
I'm pondering a response to that question. It's drones are becoming so more and more common in the law enforcement arena. So we're all used to seeing a marked police car around town, and you think nothing of it. We hope that. I guess my assumption is one day drones will become that in that same realm. If, as far as anything proactive to educate our visiting members to the community about what the Drone as the First Responder program is, we don't have any plans to do that right now, but if anybody were to ask anybody on the street that want more information about that, to call our non-emergency line, and then we would call that person back and educate them on what the program is.
I think it would be good if we could do some proactive outreach. We're going to have people visiting from other places in the world that may be very fearful of this technology. So I think it's incumbent upon us to take that proactive step.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. I was just kind of thinking about like what that could look like, but I think part of in our messaging that we're giving out to community members and visitors is like, what should you expect in Redmond? So I think that there's a path forward for that to kind of share, like, when you're visiting, what do you expect to see? What, we're a welcoming community, and you'll see these things. So I think that could work really well there. But thanks for bringing that up. Appreciate it. Council Vice President.
Thank you. Deputy Director, thank you so much for this presentation and for all of the presenters. I think that leadership sets the tone in whatever it is that we're doing. And if this is indicative, I think that we're setting the tone well in how to come together, because every department within the city was represented, and I know that there's so much more that you didn't touch on tonight that is going on behind the scenes. And we've heard little tricklings about, from safety and first responders, the work that they're doing with BEST around human trafficking, and the host of again, the million things that are going on behind the scenes to bring everybody together. So I do hope that this is setting the tone for others, as we have been coming together as a city on this incredible event, that then it will bring all of us from around the area together in a wonderful collaboration. So thank you for all the work.
Thank you, and I just want to say it also started with the council and the mayor with thinking, as was mentioned earlier, we were seen as a model, and we were one of the only cities I know that thought about and dedicated budget so that staff could plan and have that capacity. So I just wanted to say thank you. And as Haritha said, we haven't spent it all and have been working really hard to try and get grants and sponsorships to reduce the amount that's on taxpayers to show, and we've been able to, almost 400,000 raised, which is phenomenal. So I just want to say thank you again for your leadership and foresight as well.
Any other questions for the team? Well, I don't see any other hands. I also want to say thank you. The getting to meet regularly with the whole team that's working on this, it's really brought a cohesive vision to all of this. And the outreach into the community is pretty phenomenal. So thank you, and I know there's more to come, but I'm feeling pretty good right now, which is great, because we have a really large event coming to our region, and I think it's important for cities to step up and show that we are welcoming and that we are ready for people to come visit us and have a great time either going to the games or watching the games from here. So thank you all very much for all your work.
Thank you. We're ready for the world.
We are ready for the world. All right, thank you so much. The next item of business is a staff report in the first quarter 2026 financial report. Haritha Nara, Deputy Finance Director, will introduce this item.
All right, good evening, Council. Haritha Nara, Deputy Finance Director. I'm here today to provide an overview on CD's quarter one financial status. I'll provide, sorry, I'm having difficulties in. All right, so I'll provide a brief economic update, including regional indicators from King County's recent forecast, which is published as of March 2026. And I'll also go over the first quarter general fund performance, overtime trends, capital projects activity, and also utility revenues. Although we see, as you can see ahead, that we do see a good financial performance as of March 2026, which is pretty stable, but the broader economic environment continues to carry some uncertainty. So King County's latest economic update that they have shared still shows continuous growth. They do show the growth in the economy, but the outlook is more cautious, and they're particularly around employment and consumer spending. We're closely monitoring several risks, including the uncertainty around federal funding and some global economic conditions, the inflation, and any potential shifts in the consumer spending. So as part of, because these definitely will impact our CD revenues, and as part of our 27-28 budget, we are working on putting together our forecasts, which will include or will be based on this economic data that is available. We're also developing contingency plan, which we have shared with Council, that we will come back to you during our presentation of proposed revenue forecast and including the contingency plan in September. This slide shows the inflation trends in the Seattle-Tacoma-Bellevue region. This is a King County data. Regional CPIW increased to approximately 3.8% in the most recent reading or report. For context, we are pretty aligned with what's on the inflation percentage. We have used 3.5% for our 2026 budget, so we're pretty much aligned to what's in the recent CPI. This slide summarizes King County's basically the first quarter economic forecast. This reflects continued economic activity, but more, as I said earlier, more cautious. County-wide taxable retail sales are still expected to grow, which is encouraging since our sales tax is the highest, largest general fund revenue source. However, it is important to note that some of the county's stronger sales tax forecast is partially influenced by the legislative changes, which includes the SB 5814, which is expansion of local sales tax authority to certain jurisdictions. So while the top line sales tax forecast appears stronger at a county level, not all of that is reflecting the consumer spending. So just from the broader economic perspective, the county forecast also shows relative soft employment growth, suggesting a more cautious labor market, and also the assessed value growth remains healthy. So overall, what I have learned from the report, King County report, is the forecast suggests continued economic resilience but also reinforces that some revenue improvements are policy-driven and not rather than purely economic. This slide shows the graphs for both our biennial budget revenue and also the budget versus actuals. I'll just go to the next slide, which kind of has more details. This table shows the revenue mix or revenue categories for general fund. Overall, general fund revenue is performing pretty well, approximately 9% ahead of target. A few revenue categories I would like to highlight first is sales tax. As you all know, and I've been saying that this is the largest revenue in our general fund source, and is performing really great and is approximately 15.2 million above target. That performance is primarily driven by retail, and also what we have noticed is there is a increased local business activity, and also which includes the restaurant performance. So. Now, this is just the first quarter, which means that sales tax is 2 months. There is a delay of sales tax revenue collections by 2 months. So what we are seeing right now here is basically the January sales tax. So I would like to point out we may also be seeing some impacts of SB 5814. However, some of the reports that we get from the DOR is not entirely showing that it is directly related to SB 5814. It is difficult to see the exact impact, but what we are seeing is a stronger activity in the information services. So that's what is leading us to believe that is related to 5814. Utility tax are slightly above target. This is primarily driven by utility rate charges by the private agencies or private corporations. Puget Sound, which is PSC, increased their rates by approximately 11.5%, and the garbage and solid waste rates have also increased by 17%. So that directly impacts us on how we are collecting utility tax, which is about 6% on the total revenue of what they are generating. We are also seeing strong performance in the development-related revenue, with permit revenues currently trending about 10% above target. This reflects several major, so what I have learned that there are several major significant projects which are under construction, along with some updates to the code structure. So planning has indicated that this level of activity is expected to continue for the year, with approximately 3,000 dwelling units anticipated in 2026. Also, they have issued nearly 9,700 permits and completed more than 45,000 inspections, both representing increases over prior years. On the other hand, intergovernmental revenue, you see that there is an 11% dip below target, but this is primarily due to the timing difference between invoicing and the receipt of invoices. So this will smoothen out over the period of time. Similarly, other revenues are showing 10% below target. That is primarily because one is because there is definitely a stronger investment earnings, but also there are some planned one-time transfers which has not been done yet for this year. So this will also smoothen out by the end of this year. So overall, the first quarter revenue performance is pretty good, as you can see. These slides show the general fund expenditures as of quarter one of 2026. So I'll move to the table over here. So as you can see, the salaries and benefits are a little under the budget by 5%. This is primarily because we have some vacancy, and there is about 6% vacancy rate in the city right now. But there are some positions that have been budgeted in 2026, so I'm hoping these will potentially be filled, and you can see the spike in the salaries and benefits line. Other services, sorry, I'm just checking out my notes here. So professional services, this includes a lot of one-time budgets. So these are all about the timing of when the project is going to start. So this will also smoothen out as these one-time projects or programs start getting executed. This slide shows the general fund expenditures by department. So as of Q1, we expect to see about 60% expended rate or spend rate. So overall, every department is pretty close. I just wanted to point out that executive department is about 10% under the target, primarily again because of the position vacancies, but as you could see in other presentations that executive have done, we are filling these positions, and this would spike up in the next few months. Planning department is also showing a little under the target, primarily due to the position vacancies again, and also there are some one-time budget or expenditures that haven't happened yet, primarily World Cup. So that's the biggest budget in there. Citywide overtime, this is just a snapshot of the citywide overtime, but Fire is going to present their Fire overtime pretty soon in their committee meeting. This is the all city-wide overtime, and we are about 18% over the expected target. Other departments are pretty, they're good. They are about 5% or 4% below the target as of Q1. Police is little over the target, and that is primarily due to body-worn camera coverage or footage, and also some community outreach, which we have not budgeted overtime for. Fire is, again, due to the backfilling of departmental vacancies, and Fire will come back to you guys, to council in the next in June committee meeting to give much detailed presentation or report on that. This is the table of citywide overtime, which kind of shows the budget and actuals for salaries, regular salaries and overtime salaries as well. Capital investment program revenue. Here, not much, nothing abnormal here. Everything seems smooth. Some things I would like to point out is grants. We don't, as you can see, that it shows that we have collected less grant revenue. That is primarily because of the projects, CIP projects execution. Depending upon how they are spending, we will be able to invoice the grant agencies. And the other agencies over here, which shows 35% under expected, is primarily, those are, in that category, they are the transfers that are budgeted. And again, these are all going to smooth out at the end, by the end of this year. Miscellaneous do show that it is 32% higher. That's because of the interest earnings that we have accumulated in there. This slide shows the budget to actuals, the expenditures and budget to actuals for all the CIP, including the BTIP, the technology projects. As you can see, we have spent about 40% of the budget as of Q1, and it's kind of split between general government and utility CIP. Water, wastewater, utility revenue, There is nothing, it's performing pretty close to what we have expected. Some of the negative numbers that you see over here are primarily because of the season. So we haven't really gone into summer yet, so you will see some spike in the next quarterly meeting. These are the baseline budget to actuals. These are the slides that you have already reviewed it during the departmental overview presentations. I don't want to spend too much time over here, but some of the things that I would like to highlight over here where it shows negative, just to remind council from what they have heard during the departmental overview presentations. Wastewater management is showing that we are about 2% below, spent. No, sorry, 2% overspent. That is just primarily because of the timing of the King County wastewater treatment invoices, the way we get it and how we pay it. So those, again, it will smoothen out over the period of time. This is for safe and resilient baseline budget. Their criminal investigation shows that we are 4% above target. That is primarily because some one-time expenditure that happened in the earlier months. And again, this will smoothen out over the year. Criminal justice also shows we have spent 4% over. That is primarily because of the jail costs, which has gone pretty high. Police patrol, it's just, in the police patrol and response, there are some one-time expenditures like equipment and vehicle purchases. So those are done early in the year, so that's why there is a spike in the expenditures. This table shows the strategic and responsive baseline budget to actuals as of Q1. Nothing major to report here. Just wanted to say that human resources is showing like about 1% more, primarily because of the, we noticed that there are some spikes in the medical claims and the premiums. So that's why you see that increased expenditure. But this is something that we are making sure we're right-sizing the budget for medical insurances in the 27-28 budget. Vibrant and connected. Again, I don't have much over here as well, except I just wanted to point out housing and human services. As you see that there are about 5%, spent 5% more than expected is just because of the timing of the contributions that we do to the nonprofit agencies. That's the end of the presentation. We'll come back to council in September with our Q2 financial report. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great. Thank you so much, Deputy Director. Are there any questions for her this evening?
Good.
Oh, yeah. Councilmember Prakria.
Thank you for the presentation. I did see on the slide about our quarterly one revenues that the intergovernmental transfers, and I'm forgetting the terminology, but the funds that come from the state, I believe, both of those were two of the ones that were down the lowest in our projections. I think the intergovernmental transfers were down 10%. The other one was down about 4 or 5%, if I'm recalling, compared to what we had projected.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, what is the reason, do you think, for that? And with intergovernmental transfers, where does the bulk of that money come from? Is that from the state?
From King County and from the state, there are several regional agencies that we partner with where they pay us. I can get you the details on exactly on those categories, but I don't have those details right now. But those are the different agencies that contribute to the intergovernmental revenue.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's a timing issue.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's one of the issues, but she'll get back to you. Thank you. Council President.
Thank you so much, Deputy Director. You anticipated many of our questions, and I think we've spent a lot of time with you down at the study tables below, so thank you so much for anticipating so many of our questions. I wanted to ask a question about slide 16. My question here also conveys a pattern if the listening public may have been wondering about, but I wanted to ask, in this slide, the utility CIP, yes, is listed at having been spent by 14%, but appears to be overspent by 48%. And I was just wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about what's going on with the utility CIP. Whether we're over or under by 48%, that is a significant amount.
So we have only spent 14% and we have underspent by 48% is what it is showing.
Great. And can you speak to why that is? I may have missed it. I apologize.
I have to get that information for you, Councilmember Stewart. I do not have that information, but I can check with Public Works and get that information for you.
Great. I'll drop you a quick email. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for her this evening? All right, thank you so much. Thank you for the great detail. I appreciate all the work you and your team are doing.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. Our next item is Ombuds Report. We'll see if Councilmember Kritzer has anything to finish up for April.
I'm good for April. I will just do the general ombuds once we come around.
Okay, sounds great. And then maybe I'll go to Councilmember Forsyth for May, and then I'll just start back with you, Councilmember Kritzer.
Thank you. Responded to emails concerning proclamation for Jewish Heritage Month, a request for public records for the hazardous materials that are at the old firehouse, the teen center. Many emails about the renter code updates that we heard about tonight. An email concerning senior care and recovery and the staff support that is at the Redmond Senior and Community Center. Couple of emails about Recology pricing and how it was decided upon, just so that we are clear with everyone. That was a RFP contract that went out, and we went with Recology because it was actually the lower option for your utility bill. We had an email about peak usage of energy and how to save energy. Email alerting council to the rising attacks on our trans community and the escalation of misinformation and fear-mongering about the trans community. And I will just say for the record that we are a welcoming community here and we support our trans community. Had an email alerting the council to the FBI's efforts to acquire automatic license plate reader data. And that is it for my ombuds report.
Thank you. Councilmember Kritzer.
Yeah, thank you. I've had quite a few different conversations with residents, been able to discuss renter protections issues, also discussing issues around Recology and some of that transition. So many of the topics that Councilmember Forsyth highlighted, and also as well, I just wanted to comment as well that I stand firmly with our transgender community members in the face of threats from our federal government, as well as the recent violence that's happened in our own community, and look forward to our council continuing to make good on our promises to take action to be able to support those community members and our rights.
Thank you. Other ombuds items from council members. Councilmember Soni.
Thank you. I've met a couple of our constituents with the different topics, definitely on the noise ordinance. There were some questions on the permitting process and any of the delays that I've been answering and trying to connect them with the right staff members, and also on the mental health. I do have a story to share for a success of one of our small business. One of our salon business in Redmond finally were able to open their doors. Their issues were resolved, and that was a big success. And they're very appreciative of all our staff members and as well as Chief for helping in this process. Apart from this, I also attended the ribbon cutting ceremony for 4Dream Escape Room in Redmond Town Center. It's always good to see more businesses coming up in our city of Redmond and opening doors for creating more options for fun and entertainment and serving our community. So that was such a great welcome for them. And I did hear an issue about metro bus stands outside, like a couple of our small business areas where the complaints are regarding safety issues for the staff. There is some litter, and this is is happening in around Redmond downtown area. So that's for my ombuds.
Other ombuds reports? Councilmember Parsi?
I spoke with some residents regarding the noise ordinance. I spoke with others regarding from Pride Across the Bridge, discussed issues of hate crime and other issues like providing grants for nonprofits to Pride Across the Bridge and other local nonprofits in Redmond.
Great, thank you. Other ombuds? Councilmember Parkria?
Thank you. I had a couple of conversations about tenant protections. I had conversations with folks in the development community about the size of lots that, the size of houses on specific sizes of lots that are allowed for development in our code. And I also had similar conversations with folks in our trans community, folks like me who are very, very heartbroken by what happened at the University of Washington. And I just want to say on the record, I'm very heartbroken by what happened at the University of Washington as a fellow student, seeing a fellow student get murdered. And I stand, in the city of Redmond, stands with our trans community.
Thank you. Council Vice President?
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I could probably plus one with the ombuds items that I've been working with over the last couple of weeks, whether it's renter protections as a renter, attending ribbon cuttings. However, I want to use my time to speak a little bit longer on the recent events at UW campus. As a member of the queer community myself, and as a mother of a student currently at UW, and as a parent of a trans son, this loss hits especially close to home, both literally and figuratively. And I will be completely honest, speaking on this personally from the dais comes with a degree of vulnerability around safety and visibility, both for myself and my children. But the cost of staying silent right now in moments like this feels far, far greater for me. So last year, this council took action and affirmed through resolution sponsored by Councilmember Forsyth through the resolution that Redmond is a welcoming community for transgender and non-binary individuals. And that commitment matters not only in moments of celebration like in June and all the fun stuff, but also in moments of grief and fear and vulnerability as well. And it means recognizing humanity, dignity, and worth of every person in our community. Especially our young people who deserve to feel safe and seen and supported exactly how they are. And we resolve to take specific action, and we've got some work to do. A part of why events like this feel so heavy is because of the broader climate many people are currently living in. And we're seeing increasingly extreme rhetoric in our national discourse, specifically including language in the new U.S. counterterrorism strategy that categorizes, quote, radically pro-gender, quote, groups alongside cartels and terror organizations as threats to be, quote, neutralized. Now, when entire communities are discussed through language of fear, extremism, or dehumanization, it's got some really significant impacts on the sense of safety and belonging that people feel every day in everyday life. Now, a child's life lost is every parent's nightmare and every community's heartbreak. And my heart is with Juniper's families, loved ones, classmates, educators, and those carrying the pain in the wake of this tragedy. I also want to acknowledge many LGBTQ+ youth and families in our region who may be hurting deeply right now, even quietly because of fear. Now, please know that you are valued, that you belong here, and you most definitely are not alone. Now, alongside support of victims and grieving communities, I also want to say this clearly. If you are someone struggling with anger, isolation, hopelessness, or thoughts of hurting yourself or others, please, please, please seek help. There is strength and not weakness in reaching out for support before harm is done. We have to build a culture where people feel able to ask for the help before tragedy occurs. I'm grateful for the counselors, educators, first responders, and the community members showing up with compassion and care during an incredibly difficult time. And I do hope that collectively we strive to lead with humanity over rhetoric and compassion over division, and especially love over fear. Thank you.
Thank you. Very well said. Council President.
Thank you so much to all of my colleagues for their wonderful words this evening. I will let them stand where they are. And thank you for your thoughtfulness. I'm going to turn for my Ombud report to a couple of business items, and perhaps the community wants to talk about recent events. We have a good opportunity coming up, and we would love to see you on Thursday. We'd love to see the public. We're going to be out at Idlewood Park under the picnic shelter. Come pick a spot at a picnic table with us. It's a much more casual environment than coming down to City Hall. The entire council will be there from 5 to 7 p.m., and we really look forward to hearing what's on everybody's minds. And council members, thank you so much for your work to help publicize the event. I know some of you hung posters and have been sharing on social media, as well as the staff. So thank you. Really looking forward to that event on Thursday. And the weather looks great, yes. I also want to acknowledge that at our next business meeting on June 2nd, we're going to have a public hearing on the temporary regulations for drone delivery in Redmond. And we need to hear from the public on this. So we need to hear about your ideas and questions and concerns as we prepare to see more delivery drones in Redmond. Should we allow drone ports in Redmond? If so, where? What are your questions about that? What are your concerns about that? These are the types of things that we would love to hear from you about, whether you write to us, come to the hearing, come chat with us on Thursday night at the park. We do need your feedback at this time. And then lastly, I wanted to update the council. I was reminded by a colleague this afternoon that we did not share this information yet with one another. So the council leadership and the budget chair, we continued the conversation about how best to conduct our community engagement throughout the budget process, and in conversations with our community partners who have previously acted as consultants for us in helping to make sure we get really deep engagement. We've confirmed that there is interest in community to partnering with the city on that, and have requested that the finance team begin that work in partnership with them. More conversation to happen, and we would love to have your feedback as well. Likely, some budget will need to be approved to do that, so actually it'll come back, if that is the need as well. But happy to answer questions about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Soni?
Sorry, there was one more item that I missed. So I also attended Welcoming in Action Community-Centered Approaches. This event was hosted by Eastside for All, and I attended along with other neighboring cities' elected officials, staff members, community members, and staff of Eastside for All. It was indeed a very great conversation about responsive strategies for inclusive, safe, and thriving communities. There was a great panel discussion happened with the different nonprofits that are under Eastside for All, and they were sharing of stories of how they have been helping different vulnerable communities, the fear that exists, and how they have been helping out. So it was very eye-opening discussion for me. There were also roundtable discussions where at every table there were different community members, those were sitting, and an elected official from every city to sit down, and there was a discussion like how our East Side County can be truly a welcoming place. I heard a couple of concerns from different members, and there were questions specifically about the safety of children from the immigrants and the community. They were talking about that they are not sending their children as of now even to the parks. They are trying to minimize children going outside, and now that summer is coming up, it's going to be very difficult for them to keep children at home, and there will be some shortage for food and other supplies. So I was trying to help them connecting with the different resources and what our city has been providing. And there was a question that if we want to explore about the certifications for the welcoming city, and we also provided some updates from Redmond. And actually, I may also want to add with the recent hate and crime event that has happened with one of our queer and trans community member, Juniper, and emphasizing and empathizing the fear and the trauma with the rest of the community members that our City of Redmond community members are facing. I want to say that I stand together against all form of hate, violence, discrimination, dehumanization directed towards any community, including our queer and trans neighbors. Every person deserves to be feeling safe, respected, heard, and valued. We must continue building a community that's rooted in compassion, dignity, inclusion, and understanding by listening to those impacted, supporting meaningful resources and mental health services, amplifying local initiatives against hate, and standing firmly against rhetoric or actions that divide or harm people. Together, we have to create a stronger and more welcome community for everyone. So definitely we are there for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. The next item are committee reports. Are there any committee reports? Council Member Prakria.
Thank you. A couple of committee reports. Me and Council President Stewart attended the Sound Cities Association Public Issues Committee last Wednesday, and I was the alternate, so I'll let her go ahead. But a different committee report, we had our tenant protections subcommittee meet today, and we are working on putting together a matrix for staff on a number of issues that a number of pieces of policy that we are interested in looking at, other local origins, the purpose for these pieces of policies, a number of key issues related to each piece of policy, hence the matrix. We're going to finish this up sometime, hopefully next week, give that to staff, get feedback from staff, and continue on our path. And we're meeting again next Thursday, I believe.
Thank you. Councilmember Forsyth.
Thank you. Attended the Disability Board and business as usual, approving those claims. Attended the East Trail Planning Co-Chair meeting where we welcomed Philly Marsh as the new staff liaison for Redmond. Excited to have her expertise on board as we transition our Redmond conversation from getting our section built, which we've done, to activation and making a model for the rest of the region and the trail. And then also had the opportunity to attend another East Trail event a couple weeks ago, a week ago, where we toured the Wilburton Trestle section of East Trail under construction, and got to climb up on the trestle and see a portion of the concrete slab and hear about the challenges that are taking place with conversion of that section of trestle. So far, so good. I don't know if folks are aware, there was a section of trestle up in Snohomish County that burned recently. So we also shifted some of that conversation to what that is going to mean for the section in Snohomish once we get all the way up there. But just really unfortunate that some of that trestle up in Snohomish caught fire. Luckily, it wasn't as bad as it could have been, but definitely a setback for that portion potentially in the future.
Exciting that the Wilburton Trestle is getting worked on. A little scary going up there. Yeah. That's great. Any other committee reports? Councilmember Kritzer.
Yeah, we had a meeting last week of the Finance Administration and Communications Committee of the Whole, and I won't go through all the details, but just a couple topics that we talked about, because several ended up on our agenda tonight. But we did get an update from our federal lobbyists and had some discussions there, and I think we'll look to see them maybe come back in the future as well for a little bit more time to deep dive on some of that. And I will say one of the topics there that we discussed was potentially following up by working the same way we do on a state legislative agenda to look at creating a federal legislative agenda to direct our lobbyists. So look forward to following up on that in committee later. We also discussed some contracts actually some of them were on tonight, but around aerial photography, LiDAR. It's going to allow us especially to be able to do things like assess our tree canopy. So that's going to be very helpful in addition to some other pieces. We also had a follow-up discussions happened at a couple different committee meetings on our data governance program, which we will be seeing later this year, a full draft of very comprehensive data governance policy. But we also talked about some things that might not be in scope that the council will also want to pursue, especially related to issues that we've been discussing ongoing around issues like data privacy. So I think that was a very useful conversation. We'll continue to follow up. And then also discussed, got a really great update on the really great customer care work that our technology and information services team has been doing to be able to make our city run smoothly, and appreciate all the work from that staff. And lastly, we did discuss our budget process and specifically community engagement, but also we are going to be in the upcoming time working on updating our long-range financial strategy and fiscal policies. And as a reminder to the council, the goal is for you to send in feedback by this Friday the 22nd, so that way we can kind of keep that process moving along. And thanks in advance for sending that in.
Thank you. Other committee reports. Councilmember Soni.
So I attended Eastside Transportation Partnership meeting last Friday. Metro team shared that the Regional Transit Safety Task Force has restarted and is focused on implementation and review of the 160 prioritized recommendations. There was also a discussion in providing letter of support for the Fourth Line and Redmond City Council, since we all voted in support of this, so it was communicated. The letter passed with a majority, and now Chair will submit it to the Sound Transit Board. The meeting also focused on regional transportation planning and public safety preparations for 2026 FIFA Men's World Cup. There were agencies including WSDOT, Sound Transit, Metro, SDOT, and Port of Seattle. They shared coordinated plans to manage increased travel demand, reduce traffic impacts, and expand transit services, improve wayfinding, and enhance safety and emergency response in this meeting. Then I also attended One Redmond Foundation board meeting. There was an appointment for the new board member there. And there were updates that were provided for Maribor Arts and Science Center, which One Redmond Foundation has been working on. So a resolution was passed that for the mask development efforts to have a fundraising feasibility study by a qualified consultant, and Wala Eastside will be willing to partner, and foundation is currently pursuing the mask feasibility study. There were a couple of updates that were provided for the different events that One Redmond Foundation has been providing, and of course the highlight was the success with the events with the pubs. So that's from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other committee reports for this evening? Council President?
Thank you. I attended the Regional Water Quality Committee, where we continued to work on the long-term plan. This month, we studied asset and renewal management, as well as a potential new way to calculate a few of the charges that impact residents all throughout the system. As was mentioned, I also attended the Public Issues Committee, and next month, Councilmember Prakria will be representing Redmond. Thank you so much for doing that. We had a very brief overview on the possible affordable housing levy that is being proposed. As part of our prep materials for that meeting, staff did prepare a brief memo of possible questions and considerations for the city of Redmond. So I will go ahead and forward that to you this evening, so you have that. I think that the Housing Development Consortium and others are making the rounds, and you may hear about this levy in other committees that you serve on, so I want to make sure you have these questions and considerations. The action items for the night: we approved a sewer rate letter, response rate letter to be sent to the King County Wastewater Treatment Division. We are also hearing that there is a similar interest in a solid waste rate letter. It looks like their rates are coming in around 8%, again, 12.75 for sewer for the next several years. We additionally approved a broad statement on behalf of the coalition regarding Sound Transit's expansion decisions, that cities should be well served by the commitments and therein. So anyway, the statement was vetted and worked closely on by our staff, and it is a very broad, very light touch statement on behalf of the Sound Cities Coalition. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other committee reports? I just wanted to share, last week I was in Washington, D.C., in part to meet with Congresswoman Del Bene, and Senator Murray. Didn't have a chance to see Senator Cantwell. But I also was working with a group called Mayors and CEOs for Housing Investment, and we were able to meet with a wide variety of congresspeople and senators, trying to get a housing bill passed in the federal government that would do some great things for Redmond if it were to pass. And it was a very interesting conversation having with them. It's very interesting being in a bipartisan group of mayors from around the country, meeting with a bipartisan group of both congresspeople and senators, and housing is something that everyone generally agrees on. And we're optimistic that something might pass, but we'll have to see, because not a lot is happening in the federal government right now. But it would be nice to get something good coming out of the federal government right now. So that's my editorial on that one. Anyway, so that's the end of committee reports for this evening. We do not have any unfinished business. We do not have new business. We do, however, have 2 executive sessions. We have one for executive session for potential litigation, RCW 4230-111I, for 30 minutes, and an executive session to consider the selection of a site or the acquisition of real estate by lease or purchase, RCW 4230-1101B, and that one is for 20 minutes. I will tell you a time in a moment, but after the second executive session, there might be action, so people know. We will adjourn to the executive session, and we will start at, I'm going to give you guys 4 minutes, so from 9:30 to, and I can add, to 9:20, and at which time we might come back to session. Thank you. 10:20, sorry, I can add. Thank you. 10:20, can't go back in time. We have returned from executive session. Is there a motion?
Madam Mayor, I move to authorize Mayor Burney to sign an approval notice for the purchase of property to be transmitted by May 22nd, 2026, and for her approval to release the second $500,000 earnest money deposit to continue the process for closing the purchase of real property for the new municipal operations site, and to place this matter on the June 2nd, 2026 council consent agenda, and to authorize the purchase of the Heidelberg property located at 18816 Union Hill Road in Redmond.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Council President?
Yeah, thank you so much. I wanted to address that when we began this project and the planning for this project, we did intend to be able to use our own site that we already own. And council recently had a study session where a few alternatives were laid out. In the meantime, council has also begun to balance the priorities that we know are so important to the community, including the rebuild of the teen center, including delivering on Southeast Redmond Park, and a hot topic of late, continuing to provide safe drinking water in the city of Redmond. So purchasing a property was not part of the original plan, and of course does require an updated financial conversation. So I know earlier this year, council, we gave direction in response to proposals regarding possible bonding strategies and the like, but I do really look forward to our chance to discuss how we would like to finance the hopes and dreams as represented by the capital program in the next coming months as we prepare for the budget and for financing these very large and important projects. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments? Seeing none, I'm going to take a roll call vote, starting with Council President Stewart.
Aye.
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 Thank you, and that passes 7-0. Thank you all very much. And I want to thank the team for thinking about what best site to put our MOC on, and doing a lot of pretty significant work to get us to this point. So thank you and your team, Director Burt and David Amble as well, and Kelly Cochran for all the work. And thank you, Council, for working through all of this to get us to where we are right now. Looking forward to continuing work on this very important project. And with that, we are adjourned. And you too.